All right, all right. Here we go. Back again. Match day review with my boy Indiana here on Trafford Talk. Um, I'm glad I get to do another win because I did a few losses. It's not nice. A few draws. How you feeling, Indiana? You good?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on again.
Thanks, buddy. All right, man. So let's just jump into it because this is an interesting one because it's it's interesting to, especially 2 days later, to see the polarizing, the different views, I guess. So not 2 days, a day later, but the different views from the different fan groups, essentially. Like, and when I say fan groups, I mean our own fans. Where instead of being happy that we got lucky, I guess in a sense, there's more of an outrage, and I can't. I'm starting to. I get it. It's something you need to get used to, but I'm starting to just wonder, like, how can we not be happy with these wins? Like at the end of the day, like we have to win some games scrappy. And I don't know if you see it differently than me, but for me, it's I've always said this is the only sport where losing you don't get an advantage. So I don't care how we win as long as we're winning because Ollie's going to be our manager. So I think a lot of people are hoping we lose, so he's not. And actually, I see Des is in the background here. Gonna add Des. Des, how you doing? How you doing?
Yeah, good evening, bro.
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for coming on, man. Yeah, so I was just getting kicked off talking about how, and I know you're not a fan of Ollie, Des. I followed your Twitter a bit, but there's a fan group within our own fan base who are actively hoping we lose games. I don't know if how you guys feel about it, but I'll go to you, Indiana, first. How did you feel about the game? How do you feel about the results? What's on your mind?
Firstly, fans who want us to lose are not fans. Like, get out of my fan base, man. I'm not interested. You can't want us. You cannot want your side to lose, no matter who the manager is, whether you like the player. You don't want your side to lose. That's silly talk. In terms of the game, major problems, huge problems. Balance in the side, mentality, first touches. There's big problems. I think Bruno's forcing it. He could do with dropping out for a bit. Van der Beek coming in, get him sharp again. I think Martial's got a real problem at the moment. Not only at Manchester United. I think he did for France as well. He was on his heels pretty much the whole game. Even when Cavani came on and he knocked that ball into space. I don't know if you remember. And it came on, ran through in the box, ball came over the top, knocked the ball back towards Martial, and Martial stood on his heels and looked up at him as if to say, "Why didn't you pass it to my feet?" I'll tell you why. Because Cavani has got one of the best movement in the world for a striker. So he's putting the ball into spaces where he would run, where he's expecting top players to run. Martial's just on his heels. I think we've got a problem in centre midfield with Scott McTominay, Fred. I mean, they're both dilly-dalliers. I mean, past the poor decisions, Fred dilly-dallies on the ball way too much for me. Incredible in the press. There were parts of that game where he nicked the ball, ran in, and incredible in the press. I think he's brilliant in that. But for some reason, we seem to think they're DMs. They're not DMs. I think there is a problem in terms of, is Ollie getting the best out of these players? Because I think we all know he's not the best coach. We know that. We know there is that probably 90% of the Premier League have got better managers. 95 maybe. There's no question that. I don't think you even question that, Cam, whether he's the best manager or coach.
No, I wouldn't say 90%, but I think it's a high percentage. I wouldn't go 90. 90's
I think in terms of getting the best out of young players, I don't think that's Ollie's thing. I just don't. I mean, he's.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting, Des. I want to hear your opinion on it because I know I've seen you posted that you had that epic thread of going through all of the coaches on the staff. I remember reading that being like, "This guy's coming for Ollie and the coaching staff." So how did you feel about the game? How did you feel about the results? Go on. Let me know your thoughts, feelings.
Yeah, well, I would say the game yesterday. Before the game, so many fans expected it was going to be a start padding session. I mean, it's West Brom, a team that had their last win. I think it was against Derby County a few weeks back. Probably the worst side in the Premier League alongside Fulham. And we just so many fans expected, players to each of our attacking players to have, double attacking returns. I mean, if you take that to Fantasy Premier League, I placed Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford in my team, and Marcus Rashford fired blank, and I was so sad. Yeah. So it was just surprising. The first thing that struck me was the lineup. I mean, starting with two CDMs against West Brom was not really it at all. We expected to go gung from the start. Attack. I mean, come on, yeah, this Old Trafford, not and also what's going on with Tony Martial? Like, I don't really understand what's wrong with him. He looks completely different from the Tony Martial we saw last season. Like, he's off, totally off. So many chances created for him from Bruno, front of the post. Either he misplaces his shot, or he shoots the ball and he doesn't add force to the shot. I don't really know what's going on with him. Even in national team too, he looks off.
Yeah, are you moving your phone? Something's making a scratching noise. Try not to move.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's my hands. Yeah. I mean,
It's a rough time.
something is really, really off with Tony Martial, and to be honest, I don't really know what's going on there. Is it the fact that I don't, to be honest, I'm just lost.
So
If you look at the comments too, coming from Paul Pogba, the Manchester United squad looks like a calm. From the outside, you think the players are very, very happy, but when you look at the comments coming from Paul Pogba saying the French national team looks like a breath of fresh air compared to when it's at United, you begin to wonder
yeah,
if these guys are really happy.
yeah, but that was okay. That was a big misquote. I think that was a big misquote, and this is what happens every time people go away. Pogba talks. He praises the time he has with the French team, which he's going to do because he does love his time there, and he is a World Cup champion winner, and he's such a nationalist. Like, he loves being French. Like, that's one thing that he is. But to touch on the Martial thing, and I think it's a good segue when we talk about the France team, and I'm going to add our boy Ahmed to the stream.
Hi guys, you're right.
How you doing? So I just want to keep touching on the Martial thing, and then we'll go to you, Ahmed. Thanks for coming on. I think when we're talking about France and we're talking about Martial, I think we're starting to see, I believe it's not helping his confidence being with the French team. I think he's got a lot of pressure and stress, and he really wants to make that team for the Euros. It's been known. It's been in the press before. He's talked about it. And when you miss this, like, he was awful. I watched half that game. And when you miss the sitters he missed, and when you miss those chances, that starts messing with you mentally, because everybody's talking about, is Martial even going to be on the team? That we're seeing translate in his game at United, because realistically, man, so I don't believe the chance that he had the first one from Bruno was a guaranteed goal, but a man in form puts that top. He puts that top right in the goal. You don't give the goalie a chance to save it. He'll get behind that ball, lean back, put it top, easy goal. It was a great save, but at the end of the day, if Martial's in form, he scores that every time. So I think now the form thing is going to be an issue for him. And I think he needs, personally, I don't want to see him get dropped. I want to see Rashford move to the right if we're not going to play Greenwood. And then play Martial on the left, bring in Cavani, and let's see how that triumphant works. Anna, what do you think?
Well, my honest opinion, first of all, nice to see you guys again, obviously. It's good to be back. And I didn't get to what. Yeah, thank you so much. I turned 26 on Friday, so
nice.
Not getting any younger. But of course, in regards to yesterday, I feel a bit sorry for Martial. I think he's been short of confidence really since the end of last season. I don't know if it's burnout. I don't know if it's the fact that he's not at his best form at the present moment. Hasn't scored a lot of goals this season. I think the only time we've seen him score this season is in the Champions League. Outside of that, he's really struggled to find the back of the net. So when I watched Portugal versus France, like you guys did, it was a very tough watch as a United fan to see, obviously, Martial having chance after chance and not being able to convert them. And I was thinking, okay, maybe one or two chances where he's come close, maybe third or fourth, he'll put it away. But because he's consistently missing, I couldn't make it up for him. I felt sorry for him, to be honest. In the end, I took away from that game that if he can stay calm, don't panic while in a scenario like he was against Portugal, he will get more opportunities. Sadly, I didn't watch all of yesterday's game. I did try my best to watch as much as I could. But from what I did gather, he's just not the same figure we remember from that time after the restart, where he was bubbling with confidence. He used to shrug off a defender. He used to bully anyone in the penalty area to try and help a teammate, or go on his own and finish soundly past the goalkeeper. He's missing something at the moment. I don't know how long it will take him to find out. I don't know really. I'm no Martial. I wish I could get in his head, but sadly we're lacking.
So it's interesting because it's like, I mean, Indiana made a good point earlier about Bruno's kind of forcing it, and I don't think it's just him. And I think this is starting to. You can see in our squad, and this does come down to Ollie. It's like when things start getting a bit shaky, our mentality is not the greatest. Like Rashford should have that. I'm sorry, that to me was egregious. That miss, like you're sitting there, you're like 3 seconds, just blast that pass, John. Don't think about it. Don't try and flick it. Don't try and do anything. So I think when the whole team's kind of not flying, Martial doesn't lift us. And that is why, and Indiana, I'm with you on this. I'm a big advocate for, we brought in Cavani. Let's see what he can do. We gave him the number 7. Let's see if this old vet can instill in these guys the ability to kind of, lift themselves during hard times, even though we're not even in that hard of a space. Like it was a win at the end of the day. We should have won that game 3-0. Like realistically, we should have won that game 3-0. That we should have walked away with that great output that we were all expecting. And Bruno should have looked like a class player. Speaking of Bruno, though, he doesn't really get the criticism he should get sometimes for his rashness. And we saw it again. And I'm going to bring it up because I like to talk about both sides of everybody's game. And Bruno, I think, should never be around the ball in the box, personally. I personally was very against it being called a pen because of consistency across the league, but I will say it was a pen. But anybody who watched the Aston Villa game and the Brighton game earlier, the exact same play happened where I can't remember who the player was, but he got caught. It wasn't like he got some of the ball and the ref went and looked and said, I'm not going to give that penalty. Was it a penalty that Bruno gave up? Yes. Was the handball a penalty? Yes. Are we lucky that we got a penalty to win the game? Absolutely. So it's coming down to now, Ollie needs to, and maybe somebody else, jump in on this if you can, but Greenwood, why isn't Greenwood playing? Like, I don't understand this whole illness.
I think Ollie's protecting him right now. That's why we didn't see him for England. And I think that's 100% the right thing to do. The one thing I'd like to see with Martial is him be dropped. I think the best thing for him is get him out the team, make him sit on the bench, play Cavani, bring him on 60, 65 minutes, make him hungry again, give him that fire back. And I think the only way to do that, especially with a striker, we've said before, I've said it on this channel, strikers and goalkeepers, competition, because they have to be sharp. Like that, they're the two positions where you have to do that. So, but the big problem is that it looks like Rashford might be injured. He's got a bit of a niggle because I think he was struggling a bit going into that game. I think he was slightly injured before we kicked off. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see him rested on Tuesday. That would mean Martial does start. So maybe we'll see Martial and Cavani in a 2. I don't know. But I do think he needs to be dropped. And I would do the same with Bruno. I'd drop Bruno and play Donny, get Bruno sharp again. That's why we have the depth in those positions. You have to do that. I expect that to happen. And if that doesn't happen, that is something that you can put 100% on Ollie. That's a managerial decision. In terms of playing 1 DM, with the players that we've got, I never want to see a 1 DM ever again until we buy a DM. Like two out of those 3 are attacking-minded midfielders. I've had this argument twice today. I know Scott McTominay has played the DM But when a guy comes out and he says, I want to be a box-to-box midfielder, I want to be an attacking midfielder, that tells me his mentality is not defensive, it's attacking. That's how he's thinking all the time. So that's the reason why Fred and McTominay have to play together.
He does play a little center back for Scotland, though. So I mean,
yeah, it's a very weird one with him, but it just means that I've seen it before at different levels. Like, you can bring somebody out of centre back and all of a sudden and put them in midfield, and before you know it, they're stood up front the whole game. Like, that's a very I think centre back's an easy positionally in terms of not going forward too much.
Yeah.
Midfield, I think is really hard when you don't have two players in there who, at least one next to him, who knows what he's doing. That's the problem with Scott and Fred for me. It's like neither of them really own that position. I think that's why Ollie probably tried to play Matic in there, because Matic has always been in a two. That's another myth, that Matic can do the single pivot on his own.
Not anymore. He used to be able to.
Can't.
Chelsea Matic could. Des?
No, he always done that in a two, Cam. He always done that in a two. Yeah, pretty much always done that in a two with Kante. Yeah. That's
fair. I just forget. Kante is like 4 players on.
And this is a much younger man.
So, Des, I'm curious. I want to go to you and see, what would you like to see for the game coming up on Tuesday? Kind of, what would you like to see lineup change wise from us? Like, what can Ollie do at this stage other than be a subpar coach, because that's what he is. Great man manager, I'll say that, but subpar coach. What do you think we should be looking at lineup wise?
Yeah, I've been crying for a 4-4-2 diamond. I don't know when that's going to happen, but honestly, I've been crying for a 4-4-2 diamond. I honestly believe Pogba, VDB, Fred and Pogba, Donny van der Beek, Fred and what's the name of the other guy? Sorry, I forgot him. They can all play together. Absolutely. The intelligent players, they are intelligent, they are world-class players. They always find a way to play. And Bruno, they always find a way to play together. And I put out a tweet earlier today, and some people are saying that midfield is going to lack balance. Fred is there for balance, for crying out loud. I mean, there are very few ball winners in the Premier League right now that is better than Fred. Probably only Wilfred Ndidi and Fabinho of Liverpool. Honestly, I don't see any other player that's as good as Fred in winning the ball. Even N'Golo Kante has dropped off a bit in that aspect. Honestly, Fred is up there. So it's just for you to just play Donny van der Beek, Bruno and Pogba. These guys, they can interchange, and also you are not by playing them together, you are not going to limit one. When we play a midfield and pivot of Pogba and Fred, people will always attack Pogba that Pogba doesn't track back. Pogba is lazy, Pogba is this, Pogba is that. But playing these 4 players at the same time, I honestly believe you are helping each of them and also giving us more attacking intent. And when you play the 4 of them, obviously there's more license for Martial or Rashford to move forward and get loads of chances that we know that they're capable of bearing. So for me, I honestly want to see 4-4-2 diamond, and I think this is time for Ole to show what he's made of, and also make.
Okay, so when you say the 4-4-2 diamond, and I was crying for it at the start of the season, and then we actually saw it, and we saw it work in one game, and then we saw it fail miserably. So the reason why I wouldn't say I'm fully against it, but I don't think Ollie's good enough to coach those 4 players to be disciplined in that system. I don't think Fred has. I think Fred is a great ball winner. I agree with you on that, but I don't think Fred has the discipline to be in the right positions when those 3 are marauding, doing their own thing. Because we've seen it. Bruno, he loves to try and play some defense, but we see the rash tackles. Pogba, same idea. I get it. I'm a big Pogba fan, but I've gotten to a point where I do have a hard time kind of defending him, because at times, I'm not saying he's lazy, but at times he's caught on the ball, takes his time on the ball. He loses his focus, then he loses the ball. If he loses the ball in a bad position, I don't have the faith that Fred's in the right position to cover for him. Yeah. Not that Fred's not athletic enough, and not that Fred doesn't have the ability to win the ball back. Because I agree with what you said there. I do think he's one of the best ball winners. But the DM role is so difficult when you're playing by yourself that you need to be in the right position at all times. Basically, you have to.
You're 100% right. His positional awareness is terrible, and if he's got his back to goal, he dilly-dallies on the ball. Like he really struggles with that short pass. Like not all the time, and I'm not, because I love Fred in the press. I think I agree. He is one of, if not the best ball winner when it comes to nicking the ball off somebody's toes. He is brilliant. Positional discipline, terrible.
But that's also where a coach might come in too, right? Maybe this is the thing.
I know Carrick's trying, but I do think that's an. The thing is with Fred, for him to go into that position, you're trying to coach something out of him, not coach something into him, because that's not a position that he normally plays. Like Fred's a box-to-box midfielder, so that's a difficult thing to do. Like this is not me defending Ollie, because I do feel he should be getting more out of these players. I really do. But when you have players like Bruno and Pogba, like, you don't want them to come back defending. You don't want that at all. You want them going forwards, getting them on the ball. That's what you want to happen. But when that happens, like with Pogba, you have to cover around him. He's going to drive with the ball. And if you have the player in there who can do that, Pogba becomes the world's best player in that position. He really does. My issue with it is how open we would be with a diamond. I don't think the centre backs are good enough. Harry Maguire's too slow. Lindelof's too slow. There's more to it. I have real concerns about it.
That's a big show.
I'd love to see it though. I'd love to see it work. Does that make sense with those attacking players in?
I came into this year hoping games like us versus West Brom would be a game where you would see Ollie just throw out those three midfielders and something would happen and just hold possession. But we're starting to learn that's not how he plays. He doesn't really have that. Ahmed, I'm going to come to you because I'm curious about what your thoughts are on kind of like, can we get Bruno, Van de Beek, and Pogba and the team together and not be a sacrifice? Like, are our defenders, or do we need to have a defender like I don't even know who. There's not even really good center backs in the world anymore that can hold that spot by themselves. So, what do you think?
That's a tough nut to crack, to be honest. We're practically begging for a Raphael Varane type, or even if you're asking like for someone similar, jealous that we may be, of Virgil van Dijk standard of player to come in and sort of change our fortunes at centre back. I want to touch on that role with the DM though, and again, obviously we've waxed lyrical about it on many episodes now about the problems we have with that position. I feel we have to obviously be able to acquire a player of the sort that can just do that one job of cleaning up the role at the little area between the back four and the attacking third, and getting that ball forward as fast as possible. Tonight, for example, I watched Napoli versus Milan. It was a big game for Milan. They need to win to get back to the top of the Serie A. And tonight, I focus on Frank Kessie. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting us to target him, but he's a very good player. And tonight, he did the very basic job: clean up the mess that the rest of the team make, and get that ball forward by any means necessary. On two separate occasions, him making amends for other players' mistakes led to goals for Milan tonight. So that sort of player is who we need. Now, will we be able to get that player? I don't know. But that means we have to dip our hands in the market again, and we all know how stressful Man United are in the transfer market. In the centre-back role, it's a sensitive topic for me nowadays because we have currently got Harry Maguire who's playing okay. Lindelof is improving, but he's not perfect. So you're looking at two centre-backs that are trying to change their own form and help the team's fortunes for the better. You have Eric Bailly, who in my opinion is my personal choice. I prefer him over everybody. Rashi may be, but he just seems a more natural centre back and can be more reliable sometimes. He makes a mistake. He can be a little live wire at times, but I prefer him over Lindelof. So even though against Tottenham, he screwed up. It happens from time to time. You have to give players like him a chance. I don't like the news that I'm hearing that he's probably going to leave and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't look right, in my opinion. He deserves a chance to really get some games down and make that spot his, because Lindelof is error prone.
He's got to stay healthy, though. That's like, I don't think he's missing games based on the fact that we don't want to try him. Like, all he did try him out, and it looked great for the first. Then he went away on international break, and he got hurt. So it's like, and I mean, he had that ghastly game before too in Tottenham where he did some. I got to say this: the one thing I like about Bailly is when he's defending. But because Ollie has all of our center backs, and he's clearly coaching at this point. I don't know if it's Ollie or whoever's coaching the center backs to play from the back. They're all playing from the back, and Bailly should never do that, in my opinion. One thing
that annoys me, lads, is consistently, and I feel like it's a regular trend with Man United, is whenever we restart the game, it's never up the field or go to the man in free space on the wing. It's always two centre backs, either side of David De Gea, play it to one of them instead. It's so simple. Teams suss it out very easily. What they can do, get men around the 18-yard box, put pressure on us to make a mistake. It happened multiple times. It's happening this season as well. He's got to change that front. I want him to take a risk. If he will, and that's why I will agree with Jan has made that point. I would prefer we play Cavani because of his ability in the air to have a height advantage. And I don't know. FBL Second says, honest opinion on our style of play, guys. Do we have an identity? I know players aren't playing. I don't know. To answer this one, our style of play is very simple, really. It's more a hope of trying to just get Bruno on the ball as much as possible in space and hope he has runners off him to get him in the box. Defensively, we can be sussed out very easily. I wanted to also bring up this, that Istanbul, who we play on Tuesday night, lost yesterday to Besiktas in their league game, first game back from the international break by 3-2. And they picked up a fair few yellow cards in this game. Now, I feel like our attacking thirds can, if they are able to, get into spaces and win more fouls, maybe a bit of opportunity, because they are getting a lot of referees very angry with their acting and their behaviour. Personally, for me on Tuesday, I want to see a different team. I want players to be rested. I want them to be fresh for the next match against Southampton, because we have a real, really grueling task to keep ourselves ticking over the next couple of weeks with the sort of matches we've got to play. So I ideally, like Des said, want to see different bodies in the team. I want players who are hungry to come in as well. I want them to bring a point to the manager that having lost last time out, if they can come in and put a performance in and get the result we need as well, particularly because, once again, Leipzig and Paris play each other. We need that result to sort of set ourselves up next time out against Paris to put our place in the last 16. So, yeah, I want to see Van der Beek. I want to see Transabi playing. I want those guys to get more time on the pitch. I want Cavani to start, so meaning Martial, Fernandes, and one of Maguire or Lindelof on the bench, rested as much as possible, because you're risking playing them over and over again. I think Rashford's shoulder injury will be a big thing to keep an eye on. He's not feeling very good. I don't think he was feeling good before the season started in the first case. I mean, there's a lot of things United have to fix, but we'll have to see.
So I want to address that question about the system and style of play. I think we have a style of play. I think the system breaks down a lot. If that answers your question, FPL Techers, I think our style of play is very direct. It's why we win all the penalties we win. We're very much, when we pick up the ball, it's exactly as you said it, Ahmed. It's look to get Bruno on the ball, and then look to see if Bruno can get one of our strikers in position to do damage. What's been failing us with that directness is if we don't get a penalty and we do get, the clear chances we've been getting, I think our conversion is 7% with our front three or something. It's like the worst in Europe right now. All of a sudden, we've stopped being clinical. And that's a form thing. That's an up and down dip, and that's where you do bring in a Cavani, because we are creating the chances. We still are playing that kind of direct football. We don't do the tiki-taka. We don't play around with the ball a lot. It's kind of honestly like how I play FIFA. You just get the ball, kick it forward, and try and score. That's all his whole mindset. He doesn't have these patterns that he tries to put off too much. He seems to his whole plan is get the ball, move it, and get into the attacking third and try and score. That seems to be our style of play. But from what I notice a lot of times, it breaks down because we just don't have the players when we play Fred and Scott together, which is what we've been doing. What I would really want to see is if we can continue to do this, like you said, like everybody's saying, is if we can figure out a way to get Pogba we just got to get Pogba going. It is very weird. And Techers has a question here. Also, what are your thoughts about Pogba's situation? Is Ollie trying to phase him out? I don't think so.
Pogba's actually, here's the thing, right? We didn't need Donny van de Beek, and I've said before, it wouldn't surprise me if Pogba does want to go. He does want to leave. He has said something to the board. Like, can you blame him? Can you actually blame him? From the moment he come in, United didn't buy the players he needed to around him. Like, he is a luxury player. He's one of the best luxury players in the world, but he's a luxury player. He's not the guy that comes into your team. He's the guy who comes in and then you build a team. That's Paul Pogba. Can you blame him for wanting to go to another club and win trophies? No, you can't blame any player for wanting that. It wouldn't surprise me if there have actually been talks already between. We already know what his agent's like, by the way, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were talks between the agent and the club, and Donny van de Beek's come up for sale, and the club at Man United have gone, look, if he does go, we've got Donny van de Beek. If he doesn't, we've got Donny van de Beek. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't see Donny van de Beek as bad business, is what I'm saying. And it wouldn't surprise me if he does want to go. I don't think Ollie's trying to phase him out. I think Ollie would love Pogba to be on form, like anybody in the world would like Pogba to be on form and fit in their system. I just think, again, it's a player problem around Pogba. We need that defensive player, like Ahmed was saying, who just nicks the ball, wins the ball back, and then passes it to somebody who can do something with it. That's what we need. Is that decision making. I've won the ball. I know where my player is, and that's where I'm going to put the ball, and then you move. Not I've won the ball. Let me turn into trouble, or let me take it to my right foot, left foot. Then I'll turn with the outside of my left foot, and then I'll look for a killer pass. That's not good enough. You can't do that in that role. So I'm not worried about Pogba, and I'm not worried about Ollie pushing Pogba out. And for anybody listening, do not listen to a single report you hear about Paul Pogba. That man's name has been dragged through the mud way too much, and the media will attack him at any opportunity they can get. Don't listen to it. Don't believe a word of it. Let the man breathe, man.
Yeah.
That's your feeling. What are your feelings about Paul Pogba?
Well, Pogba's story situation at United has always been a very sensitive one. I would say this: Pogba doesn't really help himself, does he? I mean, we've seen cases where comments coming from his elder brother, Matthias Pogba, saying Pogba is a new player now. Jose Mourinho has left the club. You can remember when that happened. So there are comments here and there coming from his entourage, and to be honest, so many fans will not be happy seeing all that. So I wouldn't blame people, criticizing Pogba harshly. I mean, he came in 2016 as the player that was supposed to, kickstart this our rebuild after Luis Van Gaal left, and there were some signings that at the beginning we thought was working very well. Mkhitaryan came in, Zlatan Ibrahimovic came in, and things were looking good. Then until that night, I don't know. I honestly believe that was the night everything got spoiled. That night at the at Wembley Stadium when we played Spurs, Alexis Sanchez first game. Yeah, that was the night for me.
I was there, Des.
Yeah,
I was
wow.
there. My friend, I cannot tell you how painful that evening was, but I can also remember. I can relate to what you're saying. James Bowman had something in the chat which I wanted to bring up. Pogba is the definition of a system player, and he wants to ask our thoughts. I will state this, obviously. Pogba, before he joined Manchester United, was a number 8 and loved to get forward at Juventus. His consistent role is to try and help not only himself get goals, but the men in front of him get on the score sheet. At that time, not only did he have the likes of Marquisio, Pirlo, and Vidal around him, in front of him he had Tevez, Morata, Cuadrado, and I think at some points different, and Fernando Llorente played there as well.
And
But
Bonucci and Chiellini behind him, and Evra.
Yeah, and you had Costa there too.
a brilliant team. That Juventus side, all concrete in Italy, completely decimated domestic football and competed in the Champions League. He had pretty much a free role. Allegri set him free. He said, "You have wings that you haven't been able to use yet. Go out and fly. Don't do anything you feel is like necessary for us. Just play your game and try and help us win." And whenever he was set free, Juventus flourished and he became their focal point. I think one of the best examples of this was against Manchester City 5 years ago in the Champions League when they won 2-1. He ran that game from midfield. They didn't have Pirlo that night, sadly, because Pirlo had left. So it was him, Marquisio, and I think it was a second choice midfielder he played that evening. But he ran the game for Juventus to decimate the City midfield, passes left, right, and centre. He was just going in one direction and not the other. And he has such a contribution to Juventus. When he came to United, it was a question of where do you put him now? Because Mourinho, we'll have to figure out where do you put such a player who only knows one direction and not another. He can defend, but he doesn't defend like a natural defensive midfielder. He's more inclined to winning the ball in midfield with strength and driving forward. He's not someone who's used to the system that United play. He's more used to being told, you are a free man, you just need to burst up the field and create something for us. And when he was allowed to do that under Solskjaer, he scored 16 goals in that season, 18-19. So he's had a big role to play once as a free player, but now he brought in like Van der Beek and Bruno, and he's starting to struggle to match the competition in the team. It's starting to dawn on us as fans. I don't know if it's on him, but if it's dawning on us as fans that he's incapable of supporting. He can't do a supporting role. You can't play him deep because he doesn't like defending. He only knows to go one way. He can't play up in the number 10 because that's where Bruno or Van der Beek will play. And you can't play him as the sole number 6 or defensive midfielder with the 2 3-8s because you're taking him out of his favoured position where he would have been free to attack and set opportunities up like he did when Solskjaer first came in. So he definitely is used to a system where he is told, go free, these guys will do the clean-up job. You just have to go up there and get us goals or make something happen for us. Instead of being told, help us in the midfield, because if we miss you, the opponents are going to burst through. It's different. Serie A is a different world to the Premier League. And the Premier League, everyone works together. A midfield is supposed to be very strong, compact, and aggressive at most times in attack and in defence. If you're not able to have that sort of team player in your team who can do that job, you're more or less a vulnerable team. You're playing with 10 really more than 11. So I think Pogba can't do anything if he's not in the system.
I would disagree with one thing. I feel in the 2018-19 season, Paul Pogba had a lot to prove when Jose Mourinho was sacked. If you can remember, I feel at that time he was trying so hard to show that he was not the virus, as the virus in quotes, that so many people were talking about. And at the end, he proved that obviously he was not the virus for some time until he went back to his normal self. So the question is, if you can get Pogba to always be hungry, 247, he would show that obviously he's probably the best in the world. There are times that I watch Paul Pogba and I'll be in awe and I'll be like, man, this guy is probably the greatest midfielder I've ever seen. And there are times that I'll watch him and I'll be like, he can't even walk into the national team of Nigeria, So he's there. There are those two sides to Paul Pogba, and you can never know which one you get. But yeah, the problem now is how can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, get him to be focused and to be hungry every single time. That's just the problem here. And
bring him off
honestly,
when he's not playing well.
It's been tough. Yeah,
that's the thing to do. Like, it's not like we're short of attacking midfielders. We've got 5 of them. Like, if he's not playing well, bring him off. I agree with you. Is he hungry? That's always been a massive question that I've had. Also, you just spoke about the Juventus side and the France side as well. I have a little theory of where, when it comes to teams, of where danger men are. So, how many danger men have Manchester United got in terms of creating goals or scoring goals? Because it's not on the right wing, it's not in right wing back, it's not in
Two
the
at
centre
least.
midfield,
Two.
it's not in the DM, it's not been in left back. Now, this is my. So where is the pressure? What positions are the opposition watching? Straight away, they can double up on Pogba. They can cut up the passing lanes. They can close down the options. That's very difficult for a player who's used to being playing with top players like he does for France, hard working players, Kante, for instance, to go into a side where a lot of your players are below par of your level. You see it. Any of you who've ever played any sport, right? Any of you, you might play at a certain level. If you go and play for the second team or the reserves, you'll be like one of the better players there for a bit. And like I had it when I was coming back from injuries. I've had it. Before you know it, you're starting to get down that level. You need to be playing with a certain standard of player. And it's not until you go back to that first team you realize how much you actually have to put in. It's tough when you play with a lower standard. You do go down to their level. And I think that's part of the problem with Pogba. The players next to him are just not good enough to get the best out of him. So maybe he's not the right player for Manchester United right now.
I just want to say one more thing on that before I move into I want to talk about the fixtures coming up and how we feel. But I wanted to do something that when it reminded me of a comment that Mourinho made. And I think this is where the beginning of the end was, not that Spurs game. After Paul Pogba had won the World Cup, Mourinho, in true Mourinho fashion, went to the media and decided, instead of congratulating Paul Pogba, because Mourinho didn't want to make his head big, he wanted to keep him hungry, he said, I think the World Cup is the perfect environment for a player like Paul Pogba. I'll never forget this quote and being like, oh, no. He's like, because he's saying it's such a short period of time and every single game is so important and means something that Paul Pogba is going to play the best he can in every single game. And that comment is exactly kind of what we're all saying here is how do you get Paul Pogba to be motivated? Because Paul Pogba, when he's playing for a World Cup and he's playing every game matters, he was motivated. He was electric. He was such a fun player to watch. In the Prem, the thing about him and what we're seeing is the inconsistency, and it's because maybe he doesn't look at every game like that. He did when he posted the thing about Mourinho and he got laced on social media for doing it. He had that hunger then. So maybe Mourinho had something in him about it, because at the end of the day, if Mourinho goes on and wins the league this year, as he damn well may, it's going to be last Jose Mourinho and not last Paul Pogba.
Not last laugh.
And also, Mourinho also said, if you can remember, he said the focus in the World Cup then was just football. They're in a camp, enclosed from the world, no social media, no noise, no problems from family. Their focus is football for 30 days, and compared to the shenanigans of the Premier League. So
yeah. So moving on, because you're talking kind of about the matches coming up. I think we must absolutely win in Turkey. That's got to be a win. But then I look at our schedule right now, and again, this is where, and we've talked about this a lot on the terrace, Indiana, where it's like if you're gonna fire Ollie, just fire him, because Burnley, Southampton, West Ham, Man City, we have to from those games take a minimum of 12 points. Minimum. If you do not take 12 points from those 4 games, then basically top 4 is now at risk, because Tottenham's not going to drop out of the top 4 at this pace. Chelsea, definitely not. That 200 million is starting to gel. We're starting to see that 200 million gel, and that means they're fine. Liverpool, okay, they have no defenders, still winning games. You know what I mean? At this point, what you would think is no Salah, no defense, they should lose to an informed Leicester side. Nope. Right. So we can't, like City, sure, City's looking a little, City not making the top four could happen. But like what we're seeing here from those games coming up, and you guys would, I don't know how you feel, but those games coming up, if we don't take 12 of 16 points or 15 points that are on the board there, we're done. I think we're dead in the water, and Ollie has to be gone by Christmas at that point.
He won't. He won't be gone. I've said this before.
But top four, in my opinion, will basically be gone by that point. Like if you think about it, it'll almost be gone.
I don't think.
But there's a lot of games.
There's going nowhere.
There's a lot of games. There's things like COVID to factor in. Like Chelsea might be at the top. They get 4 or 5 players with COVID for 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? They drop down 3 or 4 positions maybe. If it happens to Manchester United, yeah, we're in trouble.
I'm just saying, I look at those games, and then after that, when you have City, then we get into Sheffield United should beat Leeds. We should beat, but who knows? Leicester, Wolves, Aston Villa. Like after that run of games, that's when it gets tight. And in those tight games where there's so many games, that's when you start seeing points get dropped by teams that shouldn't be dropping points. And in that case, it's going to be potentially us. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Alan?
I mean, look, I don't like to look too far in the future. I want to be able to focus in the short term first because we have a lot of games to come. But I want to think about the short term in the future. We want then the long term. In the short term, Istanbul essential, must win, get 3 points. So let's make our position in the Champions League comfortable so that we prepare for Saturday. Obviously, we must see fringe players. Southampton away will be a difficult game. Let's not be disillusioned by this. This is a team that at their best can beat anybody. They showed us that against Everton. And then the restart, they beat Manchester City 1-0. Yeah, 1-0, they beat him from 40 yards out. The defensive performance that day was exemplary. Hasenhutl's got a team there that is well-drilled, well-coached, and always is prepared to put their lives on the line to get a result for him. So he has managed to completely transform that club into a more stable and very difficult team to beat. So we must go, if we're going to win there, we must step up our game big time and not be in any way vulnerable. Because the next match after that is Paris. So we need to set that up by beating Istanbul and then hopefully not getting any problems against Southampton. Get something out of the game against Paris at Old Trafford, and then we should be fine. I should stress Istanbul's also at Old Trafford as well. So we have home advantage in both games. But it's still the short term. I'm looking at the next 5 in all competitions. We need to focus on Tuesday, get a result, win, just win any way possible. Don't let another scenario like the one we had in Turkey happen again, because we're then going to be wondering, are we going to be able to stay in the Champions League? I don't want to go in the Europa League this season. I prefer the competition because we don't look like a team that are overly ready sometimes. So overly ready to make it in that competition. But win on Tuesday, I feel I'll be a bit more comfortable. Get a result against Southampton. Get something against PSG. West Ham always a bogey match for us because we don't win there very often. We haven't won there since Mourinho's first season at their ground. We've drawn and lost twice. And I was there last season when we were beaten 2-0 there. It was a horrible day, a horrible performance. So we need a result. We need to get something out of that game. But yet again, it's the same with the Southampton team. West Ham under David Moyes, and he always has a point to prove against Manchester United because obviously how it went with us when he was in charge. He's always got a point to prove against us. He will want to get one over United again. And this time, with a team that, they just seem to be building a result, building up confidence, and are really threatening to not, at this stage of the season, I know it's early doors still, but they're breaking into that top 6. They're trying to threaten everyone above them. So this is a game I can't take lightly. Leipzigers, if we do our job against Istanbul and PSG, will be fine. Manchester City, I think City would have fixed a few of their problems before we played them. So I don't think we're going to have it easy against them, even if it is at Old Trafford. We will need to be very, very good. We will have to find a way, similar to how we did it in March, to beat that team. Yes, they don't. Yes, they have centre-backs now, but yesterday exposed them for what they're worth. They can be exploited if the right things happen. So I look at these fixtures, I think, 12 points is possible, but it's not up to us, the fans. We can only hope. We can only hope that Ollie can drill this team well and can get them to prepare in the right shape and the right form. And every game we go into, they have to be 100% in the zone. We can't have anyone flailing arms or going awry on match day. This is the sort of stage of the season now where points matter. Last season, our form, a lot of our form to get in the Champions League was off of this stage of the season, getting results and remaining unbeaten. I know we struggled a bit in the New Year, but this is where we have to pick up form. We need a win on Tuesday. We need to get a result next Saturday. Hopefully get something against Paris, deal with West Ham, and then prepare for City, hopefully by resting players against Leipzig. Fingers crossed, of course. That's what I want to happen, but we don't make the predictions here. We can only hope.
Yeah, man. So that's pretty good. I think that's a good way to end the stream on that too. I think that's a great wrap up there. Guys, I'm praying that we win in Turkey and we can just go
We're
on.
at home, Cam. We're at home this time.
Oh, you're right. We're at home. You're right. We lost in Turkey.
That's not a good thing. We haven't been great.
But that's the thing. We've been,
to be honest.
In the Champions League, though, we did smash Leipzig.
So like, hopefully we win at home against Istanbul. Keep calling it Turkey, but obviously Istanbul. Honestly, that's my hope. And if we do that and we can continue our form and win, we just got to win 3-4 games off the bounce because we haven't been able to do that in a long time. But yeah, guys, thanks everybody for coming on. You're going to be around for that game. I'm going to be stressed at work watching my phone hoping they win. Indiana, appreciate you coming on. Check out Indiana on the First 11. Follow Dev's report on Twitter. Lots of Ollie slander happening out there. pretty hilarious.
Come on. We have to be. There comes a time that we have to be very honest. I mean, Ole has not done exceptionally well. We have to be honest with ourselves.
I'm careful with my ambitions, boys. Let's see what happens.
No expectations. Go to the bookies. Keep your money in your pockets. Just enjoy the ride.
Absolutely.
This is United. We have to always have expectations. Come on.
Hey, we got to be realistic at some point, though. I agree with you, but at some point they gotta level out. Those expectations, we gotta level out. With that,